Most bankers aren't ready to help you until after their third cup of coffee. But with Central National Bank's after-hours service, you don't have to wait for the bank lobby to open to get help. You can contact us from 6 to 8:30 in the morning or from 5 to 10 in the evening, and we'll connect you to a real, live, local person who can answer questions and fix problems 7 days a week. Bank different. Bank Central. Central National Bank. Member FDIC.
This is a Rogue Media Network podcast.
Bros and heroes. Gonna tell you about bros and heroes. Gonna tell you about
comic books, costumes, facts,
Boots!
and other stuff.
In this week's issue, Deadpool kills the Marvel Universe.
Welcome into Bros, Foes, and Heroes. I'm Zach, joined as always by, I will say, the merciless one for this one.
Oh, dear God.
Well, we're dealing with
A mercenary.
a merc.
He's a merc with a mouth. Yeah,
exactly.
yeah.
We are talking Deadpool on
It's the
today's
pool of the
Bros,
dead.
Foes, and Heroes. And this is a story, and we're doing it. I mean, Deadpool 3 comes out next month, at the end of next month, so we're getting close to it.
Very excited.
So I figured it'd be cool for us to throw in some Deadpool content, and
Can I get your take on the popcorn bucket real quick?
yeah, I think it's hilarious.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the fact that there's a tongue in there, just yeah, it's funny.
It accentuates the opening.
It does. It
Yeah.
does. And obviously, we talked about it. Like maybe the butter in the ad was a little overkill, but I think it was just
Well,
knew what
again-
it was going for, and it hit it home. I don't know what you know what I was.
It hit
going
it
for.
home.
Yeah.
Again, I'm confused by the ad because it's overtly sexual.
Oh yeah. Well, I
Right.
thought it would be for this popcorn
But
bucket.
they drop all the popcorn in there like it's the sexual thing, and then they pour the butter on it like it's a sexual thing. So which is which?
I think that's the thing is they just leaned into all of it
Oh, okay.
being a sexual thing. I think one of the lamps in here.
I think it
kinda
just
like
flashed
flickered.
and went
Yeah,
out.
It
or
caught me off
something.
too.
Yeah. I thought I was having a stroke.
But so popcorn bucket fiasco. Well, it's not a fiasco.
No, it's not a fiasco.
aside.
I think it's great.
We're going to focus.
It looks a hell of a lot
on-
better than the Dune bucket.
That's true. Well, anything would. That
I used
Dune
to
bucket
drive a
is scary.
79 Dune bucket. It was
Oh, yeah?
It was a rough car.
That's a solid
Yeah.
joke. So we're going to focus on a story that came out before any of the movies did, but it is a story that I feel like a lot of people talk about when they talk about the Deadpool character,
Yeah.
and it's actually part of a trilogy of stories, but this is the first one in the bunch, and it is Deadpool Kills the Marvel Universe. It is written by Cullen Bunn. Artist is Dolibor Talej. He's a
Man,
Croatian
good
artist.
job.
Yeah, he's a Croatian
Yeah,
artist.
good
I
job.
looked it up because, again, the art in this is fantastic. And I always like to make sure that when I talk about somebody, you got to have the respect enough to look it up. And it's fantastic stuff on this. Colorist is Lee Lowridge, and letterer is VC's Joe Sabino. So
Why does it say parental advisory hot for kids?
it says it's not for kids.
Oh, I'm sorry.
It's just because the way it's pixelated on your
I
screen.
misread it. I'm sorry.
Blowing it up
Hot
to
for
as
kids.
big as we have for you to be able to see
Yeah.
it.
Well,
The
I am
pictures
blind,
for this,
so yeah.
it's kind of like stretched out some of the words, and I have
It's
to look on
fine.
my tablet
I'm
here while we
just
read.
being a turd.
I know. So let's go ahead and get Deadpool Kills the Marvel Universe underway, and we start off with the Watcher. And the
Ooh.
Watcher is essentially telling you like what all he does, of like how other ages are, that he's like the others of his race, his ageless race, wanderers of the multiverse, observing like countless worlds and countless realities. Like they watch. Like that's
Yeah.
what time goes by. If
Does
you're
he-
familiar with,
Does he have a lot to do with the timeline? Like the whole.
I believe like they make sure that things stay like how they're supposed to go.
Well, I'm thinking like Loki, like the timeline.
I mean,
Loki
he's in
and stuff
what-
because
wasn't the Watcher in one of the Guardians of the Galaxy movies?
I don't think so.
I think it was Benicio del Toro was.
Oh, that he was supposed to be the watch. Oh, he was the collector.
He was the collector.
Yeah, he
You're
was
right,
the
sorry.
collector. Yeah.
There's a lot of the blanks,
Yeah, yeah,
so forgive me.
I just wonder, like, because they've done the Watcher in What If,
Mhm.
the cartoon series. And I never watched any of those, so I don't know if they were good or not. But
I've heard they were good.
I just wonder if they're borrowing from killing off universes and stuff like that in the movie. I wonder if there is a Watcher in this one.
Maybe.
You know, that would be kind of cool.
Yeah. Because
you could almost use him as, like they're doing here, as like the narrator of the story.
Well, you'll see.
You know? Okay.
You'll see.
Okay.
That's the thing with this comic, Mike, is just give it some time and you'll see.
You got it.
But we're introduced and he's just kind of telling you like what he does. And while he's like, he talks about how like some, I watch all these Earths End, like I watch some like fantastic things take place that are filled with all these great existence and stuff like that. And then there's others that are filled with just knot and pain and terror. And then we see a yell just kind of like, screech out. And he's like, just kind of like, here, let's see what's up.
Oh, my God.
And you see Reed Richards is just an elongated mess.
He's
stretched
everywhere.
out all over
the
Baxter building in the Fantastic Four's headquarters.
The what building?
Baxter.
Oh, okay.
What'd you?
I don't know.
So, I get it now. Sue, his wife, Sue Storm, is sitting there and just kind of like holding him as he's dying, and he's telling her that like he sent the kids off to like the negative zone to be safe, like that. We find out that both Johnny Storm and the Thing, Ben Grimm, are both dead. As like he's just. I don't know how to describe it. Like his
it's almost like he's
melting more and more.
Yeah.
Like whatever's happened here is just like slowly causing Reed Richards, who is Mr. Fantastic and Stretch, just to kind of like melt away. Sue runs away as she hears loud noises kind of through the building, and she turns invisible while doing so. Obviously, since she can, the Invisible Woman, to try to get away.
Pedro Pascal. Right?
Yeah, he's Mr. Fantastic.
He's going to be Mr. Fantastic.
Don't ask me about who the rest of the cast is.
That's weird, right? So. Like, does he fit, you think?
Here's the thing about this. Yeah. It's movies. Anybody can work. Also, I think that people forget a lot, and maybe this is wrong of me to have for me being such a nerd. It's fiction.
Oh, that's true. That's a fair point.
I mean,
yeah, that's a fair point.
Like I get, and that's the thing about
I love
all
the
of it.
guy. I think he's great, and I think he has a wonderful sense of humor.
I think actor-wise, he could pull. Like, I don't know what the movie's going to look like. I don't know what it's supposed to be, but like just because he doesn't look like my Reed Richards is supposed to look is a stupid argument to me, at least. Like it could work out really well. So
yeah. So one question, and then we'll get back to the comic book. What's the worst superhero movie in your
that like I've watched?
Yeah. Worst one.
See, that's tough because I have a hard time saying mean things about anything. But I will say I don't necessarily like
Sonic the Hedgehog doesn't count.
I don't really care for the first. I don't know. That's not bad. I don't really care for like the first Sam Raimi Spider-Man, but it's not like it's good.
The first
still.
one's fine.
It's not
Third
like it's
one
bad.
Sucks.
And
I love Sam Raimi.
There were like Marvel movies that were just kind of okay. Like,
did you see that
Doctor Strange was just like okay.
See, and Doctor Strange is a good movie.
Mm-hmm.
It's just slow, right? And that's the problem I have with that one. The worst one. Well, I've seen the Avengers movie from the late 70s, early 80s.
Yeah,
that one's rough, a little rough. You seen Captain America with his shield and Thor with the little wings on his head and all that stuff?
Well, I think they did the Captain America one, I remember, where it's like the motorcycle helmet.
There's an Avengers one.
Okay.
Yeah.
I know that there's a Fantastic Four one that they did just to try to keep the rights in the early 90s that looks horrible.
I will never forget watching The Incredible Hulk, though, and his greatest foe, a grizzly bear. Yeah.
You know what's funny?
Where he throws the bear.
I've been making shorts for our YouTube channel, so I've had to go back and listen to stuff, and I can't remember which one it was. Might have been the Spider-Man Electric Company one I did. You brought up the bear.
Did I?
You did.
It was a defining moment for me as a child.
I
was like, oh my God, he just threw a bear.
A whole
and it's
bear.
So fake.
Oh,
it's
it is.
so
Because
goofy
it turns
looking.
into like a costume.
Oh, it's so great.
All right, so back to we digress. Let's get back to Deadpool kills the Marvel Universe. So Sue Storm is running through the Baxter building, and she's invisible. Yep. Yeah, exactly. And she notices that
that's
Johnny Flame or Johnny Storm.
Yeah.
Her brother is, the Human Torch is, completely engulfed in flames.
Okay.
And then our Merc with a Mouth pops up and he's like, I've got to hand it to you, hothead. Like he's doing his whole little quips.
Yeah.
And he goes to kill Johnny Storm. And when he slices or, cuts Johnny Storm's throat, blood splatters and it hits Sue. And that's where Deadpool's like, oh, peekaboo. Red's definitely your color. Like, he's making his typical Deadpool quips.
Sure.
And he's like, I'm glad you showed up. Let's see if you're half as much fun as you're. And he's like shaking his head, and it starts to like look like it's about to, like it's swelling, like he has a headache. And then it does just that.
Oh.
And Sue Storm pops his head. And she's just like, essentially like, you know, I don't know why you attacked my family. I don't know if you're working for one of our enemies. I really don't care. You just had to die. Like, you know, you're not going to hurt anyone else ever.
Yeah, sure.
And he just kind of like collapses there. And she walks over to check on her brother. And about that time, Deadpool pops up and goes, after all these years of superheroing, you know, over the world, you would have thought, like, you know, you don't run with scissors, you don't spit into the wind, and you never turn your back on a dead enemy, especially one with the healing factor, as he stabs her through her stomach.
You know what that's from, right? You don't
The
spit in
Jim
wind?
Croce song?
Yeah, there you go. Good job.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm full of
You
wisdom,
don't
my
step on
guy.
Superman's cape.
You don't mess around with Jim.
That's right.
Yeah.
Whoever Jim is.
So the Watcher then's like, all right, we're getting ahead of ourselves. Let's go ahead and go back to where it all began with this.
It's his story. Why
I
do we?
know. I don't know. And he's
Why
like,
is he
and so the
telling it out of turn?
But he's like, yeah, this is not where our story truly begins. To witness the true inceptions, we have to go back. And so he takes us to the Ravencroft Asylum, where we have a new doctor, Dr. Benjamin Brighton, who's introduced a new radical treatment that's designed to ease troubled minds. Well, the X-Men have shown up with Deadpool because this is the beginning of it. They've kind of gotten tired of Deadpool just being a crazy, loose cannon, just an absolute nut, right? So they're going to admit him for this new treatment because they're trying to help Wade out, right? So Deadpool's finally, they've all reached the amount of Deadpool they can take. They are going to get Deadpool help.
Why is Professor X not in a wheelchair?
I don't know.
That's weird, right?
Well, here's the thing too. I will say, just before we get into this, before you're like, oh, this is kind of like a elsewhere world story. Like,
Sure.
This doesn't happen in main continuity.
Well, he looks like Jeff Bezos.
But he does very much look like Jeff Bezos. But
Bezos, tomato.
I get it. But while he's there, like, you know, he's like, come on, you guys, I don't do well institutions. I've survived several. Or, I don't know where he goes.
Annulled marriages.
I have several annulled marriages.
Yeah.
I'm over with John at the bank.
I burned the
Smithsonian to the ground. Like, it's just, you know, he's trying to get
He's
out
going
of there.
nuts, yeah.
Yeah, and they don't. Instead, they admit him in there, and the orderlies bring Deadpool.
Put him in a straitjacket.
They do. The orderlies bring Deadpool into the doctor's office, and Dr. Brighton tells the orderlies that they can go. So he tells them, please, Mr. Wilson, have a seat. Like, you know, we'll get to know one another. And he's like, I think I'm good, man. Like, unless, what are we going to do here? You want me to sit there and, like, look at some ink blots and tell you what I see? I haven't done that in a while. You know, hot dog. He's kind of excited for therapy in typical Deadpool fashion. He's like, you know, how long has it been since I had a good old-fashioned one-on-one therapy session? I mean, one that didn't end in gratuitous bloodshed. Where do I start? Like, he's planning on just, like, breaking down for this whole little thing. And I love the boxes because it just shows the ridiculousness of Deadpool. Like, there's one of the white boxes to say, not the I was born poor and oppressed story again. And then it goes back to his speech bubble. Yeah, try something new this time. I was born a coal miner's daughter. My mother never breastfed me. In fact, none of the neighborhood mothers really would give me the time of the day. Hey, aren't you writing any of this down? Believe me, this stuff is gold, is what he's telling the doctor.
I like the fact that the doctor has a bald spot and a picture of Sigmund Freud.
He
on the
does.
wall.
And he's like, no, you're a trained assassin, aren't you? Like, you know, skilled in all manner of all this. Like, and he's like getting up. You can tell the doctor's up to something else. And Deadpool's like, I don't know if I'm unkillable, because he asked him if he are. And as the doc goes, we find out that he's actually, this isn't a regular doctor. He is possessed by a
Deathlock?
villain named Psycho Man. You know Deathlock? That's funny.
Isn't that Deathlock?
No, it's Psycho Man.
Oh, okay.
So
Doesn't he look like Deathlock?
Deathlock's eyes look different, man.
Oh.
Like they're like
What was the
like
one that
more
we
buggy-eyed.
covered? The one that with Mr. Miracle and all that.
With Mr. Darkseid.
Yeah, he kind of looks like
He kind of looks
Darkseid,
like
right?
Darkseid. He looks more like Apocalypse, actually.
Okay,
from
Apocalypse. All right.
X-Men.
They're all the same guy.
And he's like, you know, Oh, and
So he's possessed by this guy?
well, we'll skip ahead. We find out that he's kind of in the back of his head, very Men in Black style.
Oh.
He's in there controlling the doctor. And so the whole time what Psycho Man is trying to do is essentially trying to break Wade Wilson even more, right?
Yeah.
So we know that he's crazy. They didn't bring him here to save him. Like, I brought him here. I'm going to just let you give in to all of that. Like, he's trying to push him even further.
When you come up with your villain name and you call yourself Psycho Man, you really have to lean into that.
What Psycho Man tells him essentially is that, like, I'm going to break you down even more, where I'm going to be able to control you mentally, right?
Okay.
And then when I can control you mentally, you're going to lead my team of villains that I will also be able to control the same way, and we're going to be able to just take out over everything that, comes on our path. With you as the leader, like, you're our unkillable mutant. Like, that's what he's essentially laying out his plan to. And Deadpool tells him, yeah, you should have had your orderlies, like, tie your straitjackets better, as he's able to escape. And when he does, he chokes out the doctor.
He's a robot.
And that's when he Men in Black styles to show you that Dr. Psycho is there in the back of the doctor's head, or Psycho Man. Yeah. And he tells him, obey your master. And instead, Deadpool picks him up in his hand because he's tiny. And we see these little red blocks that say, you heard him, obey. And then the little guy, Psycho Man, is saying, let go.
He's so small.
Yeah, and Deadpool's like, sorry, Doc, I can't do that just yet. I still need, this release form, a clean bill of health, all it needs is your stamp of approval. And when he hits him on it, it just says stamp, because he's slamming him against the table.
Yeah.
And he has killed Psycho Man then, using him as a stamp for this document.
There you go.
The red blocks are back, though, with the yellow writing. It says, good, good. You know who I am. You've been waiting for me. You've killed one of them. And then we go, finish the job. And so he goes through the rest of the asylum, and he essentially sets it on fire and blows it up, killing everybody in there.
Yikes.
And the red boxers are back, and we hear, don't worry about them. You don't need them anymore. I'm sorry. That's Deadpool asks, like, when he's walking away and he's talking, he goes, not to be rude, but where are those other guys, the other voices? Like, we had the white box that was talking, and we had, like, other different, like, the multiple voices in Deadpool's head. Well, right now, it's just Deadpool and then this red box. And so the red box tells him, don't worry about them. You don't need them anymore. And I was hungry. So whatever this voice is now the voice that has taken over the main voices. It's hungry. So Deadpool can't hear any of the other voices except the red box voice that's there.
Okay.
Right?
Yep.
And so it says, we get the Watcher saying, in some worlds, the Psycho Man would successfully build his army of villains. In some worlds, heroes align. Like, he's telling them, like, in some ways it worked out like that, and he was able to use them. In other worlds, it wasn't. And then he says, but here in this reality, like, it didn't come through. The would-be conqueror awakened a killer, and about time he gets hit with a taser and he falls down. He's like, what's happening? And Deadpool's like, this little gadget I stole from Mr. Fantastic's lab seems to be designed for guys like you in mind. Must be a kick in the intergalactic stones to find out that Dr. Reed Richards was building some sort of cosmic taser to bring you down, huh? And that's where he's like, but I didn't interfere with you. Like, how did you see me? And he's like, see you? I don't see things the way other people see things. Like, there's nothing wrong with me. And that's when the red box says, ask him. And it says, now I only want to know one thing. Who were you talking to? And you see a look on the Watcher's face, and then you see Deadpool's face, and he goes, well, whoever they were, those little peeping Toms out there in Never Neverland, they're going to want to keep their eyes peeled. They're going to see what comes next. They're going to want to watch the world burn as he decapitates the Watcher.
Wow.
And so that's where it ends, issue 1. We take over issue 2.
That seems short.
This is just a 4-issue series.
Oh, okay.
So it is a very kind of quick little thing. So he's now killed the Watcher. He's now killed the Fantastic Four. And we see him battling other bad guys now. We see Doctor Doom strung up in some power lines.
Is that the
we see
Ghost
Howard
Rider?
We see Ghost Rider in flames along with his motorcycle.
Oh, yeah, Howard the
we see
Duck.
Howard the Duck cooked to a crisp. That is the one thing about some of these deaths in here that would have been a little cool, is some of them just happen like off screen in a way. But it's still fun. So he's like going through just picking off all the people in the Marvel Universe, and now he gets to Spider-Man. And the two of them are fighting back and forth as they're falling down a building. And like Spider-Man's telling him, like, I got to tell you, Deadpool, I used to think you were funny, but now, man, you're just simply annoying. And Deadpool tells him, like, so that's why you're not laughing. And here I was thinking it was because I was going to cut you from belly to neck.
Jeez.
Yeah, like Deadpool's just out to kill everybody. And Spider-Man just kind of kicks him off of him and tells him, like, better psychopaths have tried, pal. He goes, maybe you should worry less about killing me and more about the approaching asphalt below. And he just sits there as the people are sitting there watching as Deadpool just falls all the way from the building, splat onto the car kind of below them there. But unlike Miss Storm or the Invisible Woman, Spider-Man knows that, Deadpool's got a healing factor. So he kind of comes up behind him. He's like, that's got to hurt. Good thing you have that healing factor, though, which is more than I can say about all the people you slaughtered. He's like, you're lucky I'm not like you, though. You're lucky I don't kill you for what you've done. And Deadpool's just kind of like coming to, and he's like, do you think that they would, that's what I love, is he's like coming through and breaking through. He's like, and he's like, waking up or like healing from the fall. And he goes, do you think they would let you break character even if you wanted to? And he's like, what? Like, I don't want to hear what you're talking about. And he's like, what? I don't want to hear any of this stupid banner. You stole the whole Merc with a mouth thing routine from me anyway. And your slice and dice routine hasn't served you well at all. So threatening to gut me is not going to do you any good. You can just stop that. And Deadpool goes, oh, you're right. I'm not going to cut you. And he sits there and he pulls a gun out and he just holds it up to Spider-Man's head. And then blam, he just shoots Spidey right in the head.
He just blows his head
He
off.
does. And he just falls down, which, by the way,
Tells
kind of
people.
a little bit of a weak way, because like how many people have shot at Spider-Man through the times? But
well.
it is. Still, so he like catches him off guard with that, and he tells him, and he's like, Spider-Man no more, huh? That's all the you know what all those better psychopaths you were judging all about should have tried? A gun. And he just sits there and
He's
he
got
picks
a
up
point.
his sword and he walks away. And the people are just sitting there looking around, noticing like, oh no, like he killed him. Like somebody's got to stop Deadpool. And I love, like, he's clipping even as he's walking away. Deadpool's like, that was amazing even. Or he goes, that was fun. Amazing even. Like, who's next? And the red boxers are back. And he's like, it doesn't matter. They all have to die. And he's like, it matters. And he's like, the nickel and dime stuff, it needs to be like something big and something meaty. And while Deadpool's kind of like fixing his face from the fall with Spider-Man, the red boxes are like, that's the old Deadpool talking. You don't need to impress anyone anymore. Now you have me. Keep it simple. Spectacle is what they want. You don't have to play their game anymore. Telling him like, you can just go and kill whoever you want to on these people on our list. So he tells them, all right, I think I've already proven that, like I've broken those chains. Otherwise, they would have never let me kill their beloved Spider-Man. Like he's like talking to about kind of the writers there.
Yeah.
And he's like, I need something big though. Well, that's something big. We see the Avengers forming, or at least what's left of the Avengers. You have Iron Man, Captain America, Miss Marvel, Thor, Spider-Woman, Wolverine's there, Hawkeye, and Luke Cage, all just kind of sitting around there. And that's what they're like, all right, we need
That's
to
a hell
start.
of a group.
It is. And Miss Marvel's like, what do you mean? Are you kidding me? Like, this isn't even half the active roster, even let alone the reserve members. Like, where is everyone? And Luke Cage is like, Deadpool's already gotten to like Black Panther and Tigra and Iron Fist or Tigra. It's possible he's killed others, or others are hiding. Like, this is all we got right now. And about that time, while they're trying to figure out, like, hey, Avengers don't hide, but like we need to figure out what we're doing, like what his next, like who his next target is. And Jarvis is not just the suit. He's Tony Stark's butler in this one.
Yeah.
Jarvis bursts in and he's like, I can't find Dr. Pym, Hank Pym, or, Ant-Man.
Wolverine's just ready to go kill him.
He is very much so ready to be in a typical Wolverine style. And he's like, what do you mean, Jarvis? And he's like, well, Dr. Pym was in his lab all day and I went and checked on him and he's not there now. And he's just, I don't know. And he's like, and all of his Pym particles are missing. And about the time, that's where Wolverine goes, Pym particles? And there's like a sniffing. And he's like, I know who's Deadpool's next targets are. And we see the Pym particles that had shrunken down all this ammunition and bombs and everything, just kind of bring it all back to full scale. Is Wolverine saying us? and Captain America tells them all to kind of like try to find cover, and it is no use. As you see the bombs just blow
blows
it
them
to
all up.
smithereens. It's a nice little panel there
Bahoom.
that Dolabor Talej did of Captain America's just sprawled out with his like shield there, all skeleton wise. And Deadpool's walking around with Ant-Man's helmet, which allows him to like shrink things and make them bigger, of course.
Which is one of the things we see in the preview for the new movie.
Oh, we do see
Is the Ant-Man helmet. Yeah.
That's true. Well, he does have an Ant-Man helmet that allows him to shrink things and make it larger and bigger.
Mm-hmm.
And he's walking around. He's like, "Ha! It's raining men and women, or bits and pieces of them at least."
That's funny.
Yeah, and he's like, "All right, gonna take a broom and dustpan to get you guys to assemble next time." He's making all these jokes, and about that time, Luke Cage is like, "Not so fast," because Luke Cage has impenetrable skin.
Oh.
And so he's
I
like
didn't know
coming. That. Yeah, he's like breaking through, and he's coming back through, and he's like, "I figured a couple of you tough guy types might be problematic. Well, that's why I shrunk down a couple of extra bombs for special purposes. You know, you guys sure do drink a lot of coffee." And about that time, he shoots the ray to cause them to like expand again, and they go off inside Luke Cage, and he just collapses dead. And he's like, "Ooh, one down, one to go." As Thor is back down, he's spinning Mjolnir around, and he tells Deadpool like, "You know, you'll find that, you know, there's more. I'm a more challenge for you." And he throws the hammer at Deadpool. And as he does, he uses the helmet to shrink down the hammer, or to shrink down Mjolnir and kick it back towards Thor. While he's doing that, he's saying, "You're an interesting problem, Thor. And not just because your physiology protects you from things like explosive devices. The whole mythology angle raises a lot of questions. Hard to figure out who pulls your strings. Right now, though, me and my last batch of Pym particles can only think of one question that really matters. And that question is, what's stronger, your hammer or your flesh?" And he makes Mjolnir giant size again, like expands it as it crashes into Thor, pinning him up and essentially smashing Thor to death. Like it kills Thor. And Deadpool walks over as he's, you know, fading away, and he goes, "What can I say? Have a thee?" And he goes and he just boops his nose.
Him right on the nose.
Yeah.
As he's dying.
How
dying. Lovely.
No, that's Deadpool for you. Then we have the Red Block back, and he goes, "Are you satisfied?" And Deadpool asks, "Should I be?" To which the Red Block asks, "Never." And he's like, "Well, I'm sorry." Deadpool says, "I'm sorry it had to be this way. I'm sorry they don't understand. They always thought I was crazy, but they never realized I saw the world the way it really is." And the Red Box is telling him, "You just weren't willing to do anything about it until now." And Deadpool's like, "You know, yeah, you're right. They never realized they were puppets, made to dance and love and die and suffer just like me." And the Red Block tells him, "You're doing them a mercy. And you just killing Earth's mightiest heroes in one fell swoop, everything from here on out will be," and you expect easy, but it says, "should be a cakewalk." To about that time, we see Thor ripping Hulk ripping Deadpool to shreds.
Yeah. Wow, he is ripping him in
he
pieces.
Is. And Hulk goes, "You hurt Hulk's friend. You kill Hulk's enemies. Only Hulk kills Hulk's enemies." Like, he's just very mad. And he just like scatters his body parts around as he just like goes off. And he's like, Hulk doesn't want to be bothered by annoying stabby man. Hulk just wants to be left alone.
That's how you kill him, though, right? You cut his head off and bury it somewhere else.
Very much like Wolverine.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So Hulk goes away and he passes out and he turns into Banner and he just wakes up to meet Deadpool, who says, "You shouldn't rip me apart and then take a nap. You wouldn't like me when I've been ripped apart," which is a play of "you wouldn't like me when I'm angry." Yeah. And he decapitates Bruce Banner right there in human form. And we walk back out, and the Red Blocks say, "Spider-Man, the Avengers, and the Hulk, not a bad tally for a few days' work." Then we get back to a house, which is away from where Deadpool is. And a speech bubble says, "I want to thank you all for coming. I know this is a painful time for all of us."
Is this Aunt May?
It is Aunt May.
Okay.
Each and every one of us has someone near and dear that this monster's, are dear to this, or we've lost somebody near and dear to this monster's rampage. Miss Tilby's friend Henry McCoy, which is Beast of the X-Men.
Okay.
Miss Master's friend Ben Grimm, which is the Thing.
Yeah.
Miss Gardner was close to the X-Man Wolverine. Mr. Jones back there, I don't know if you remember, Rick Jones was from the early Hulk comics, and he was around for a lot of the Avengers and stuff. Mr. Jones back there was a dear friend to many of the fallen heroes, and Mary Jane and I lost my nephew Peter. If only I had known about the secret, or if I only I known about his secret, I might have been able to. And she stops herself and she goes, I thought that would be obvious. So why am I here? Is what a voice off kind of screen says, that like, what do you want from me in here now? And she goes, we've collected everything of value for us. We want you to kill the man responsible for the deaths of our loved ones. We want you to kill Deadpool. To which we see who it is, and we see his face, and the man replies, not a problem. And it's Taskmaster. And I don't know if you're familiar with Taskmaster at all, Mike.
No, he looks like Moon Knight.
Well, he has a skeleton face. He's
Oh,
cooler
okay.
looking than Moon Knight.
All right.
Taskmaster has a reflexive memory, and there's probably a different word for it, but it's where he essentially can study a target, and he can then know how to fight against them. He can mimic their style, so he knows what's coming next.
Okay.
Like, that's the thing. He can get into your mind, and he can predict what's coming next, so that's how he defeats you.
Oh, that makes sense.
That's what Taskmaster does. He's a
No,
really
he is cool looking.
and he's a really cool villain. So, essentially, what are they trying to do to hunt down the world's best mercenary? They're hiring the man who can hunt him down, like, who can track him, who can get into his mind, and who can, be one step ahead of him in Taskmaster.
Right.
And that is the halfway point of Deadpool Kills the Marvel Universe. And we'll see where he goes and who he attempts to kill next, right after this on Bros, Foes, and Heroes.
Bros, Foes, and Heroes.
Welcome back to Bros, Foes, and Heroes as we continue our dive down into Deadpool Kills the Marvel Universe. As we close out with the last two issues, issue 3 and 4 here. I do love the little, we're reading from the trade paperback, and I like the cards in between where it's like next, the X-Men. Where it's like telling you what's coming up next.
Oh, yeah, the X-Men.
But that is the cover for number 3.
Cool.
Where it's like you see a wheelchair on fire, you see like
Cyclops.
You see Cyclops' visor down there, you see the Quinjet kind of crash in the background, and Deadpool's holding a Wolverine's mask. It's just a really cool cover. That I'm gonna butcher this. I'm sorry, Kari Andrews did. The covers are great on this. But so we open up part 3.
I don't think that was a butcher of her name.
Oh well, or his. I don't know.
Kaare.
Carrie.
Carrie,
Carrie
I bet it's just
Andrews?
Carrie, yeah.
Okay.
Carrie.
But we see
Tomato.
that the Venom symbiote is all over like a bell tower.
Mm-hmm.
You see like a dead bodies just kind of laying out there. You see
I don't know
the
who
Green
the guys
Goblin.
are, the green
I don't know right offhand
dots.
either. Yeah.
Those are like there's one of them standing back there.
Yeah,
No,
but I don't know
maybe
who it
hanging.
is.
I don't know who that is.
You see the Green Goblin,
Green
I'm sorry,
Goblin.
the Hobgoblin
Yeah.
that's decapitated with all of his
Yeah.
little pumpkins scattered around him.
Yeah.
So Deadpool isn't like taking out just superheroes. He's taking out villains too. He is taking out all super characters kind of in general through this. So the entire Marvel universe. And as we sit there, we get like, it's like this journal, and we find out that it's Taskmaster. It's like, been on Deadpool's trail for days now. The crazy freak always been difficult to track, but this time he's leaving a trail of dead bodies to follow. Everywhere I look, I see signs of his passing, of his crusade against superheroes and villains alike. At one time or another, I've mimicked more than half of these people he's murdered. Whenever I see one of them, I feel like a piece of me died with them. I would have gladly killed Deadpool for the money, but this is different. And as he sees whatever crash, he's like, power pack. Yeah. So he notices that like it's even more villains that like are more heroes and that, Deadpool's taken out. And then we get to this.
So
bro.
Taskmaster has fought other people?
Yeah. I remember him.
Like, is he somebody's villain?
He's in.
Like, if you say Hobgoblin,
I want to say Spider-Man.
Yeah, if you say Hobgoblin, it's Spider-Man.
I think Spider-Man more, or at least that's what I've read him in more. He might be more so closely associated with somebody else.
Okay,
but I know he's in he's in the Spider-Man game, like video game.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. But I know I feel like I've seen him against Captain America. Like he's kind of like he's used across the Marvel universe.
He's a utility player.
Yeah. And he's like, all right, I guess there's no question about that. The only real question is, where the hell is he? And about that time, we see this abandoned, building out in the middle of nowhere with a Professor X. And you can tell by the yellow. That's the thing that's all of Deadpool's speech bubbles are yellow. So you know when it's him talking. And he splashes water on Professor X. And he's like, wake up, Baldy. You and me have a lot to talk about. You'll get all the sleep you need when you're dead. And believe me, you won't have long to wait. Besides, if you pass out now, you're going to miss the best part of the show.
See, again, it's the TVs, just like in the preview of the new one. You know how he shows up and watches all the TVs?
Oh, with the TVA
with the
timelines?
TV. Yeah.
Well, in this one, though, it's TVs of all the X-Men.
Oh, okay.
And this is and like Professor X is like, why are you doing this? Like, you've hurt so many. And he's like, you really think that? You think any of you can actually feel anything? And he's like, of course. And he's like, well, that's the next part's really going to suck for you then, if you think that. And he's like, all right, say it now, just like we practice. And he stabs him in his leg. Jeez. And you can tell it's causing pain to Professor X. And he's like, say it, like he yells. And Professor X goes, to me, my X-Men, because that will page the X-Men to him. And so when he does that, Cyclops is like, you heard the man, squad. This place may be, like a maze, but we can find him. We can get, and about that time, this red, ball just kind of comes out of nowhere and hits Cyclops in the face.
Cyclops. Who's the other one?
So there's Cyclops,
Quicksilver?
Emma Frost, Quicksilver, and Pixie.
I got one. I got Cyclops
and so
Quicksilver.
While they're there, he's like, Emma Frost is like, I don't know, but it's drying and it's hardening. Like, I don't even know if he can breathe, like that thing around his head.
Yeah, just a big
And so all of a sudden,
orb.
Spider-Man, Cyclops freaks out.
Yeah.
So he uses his laser to kind of blow it off. But what it does in doing so is it causes a huge explosion.
He kind of looks like Magneto with that thing on his head.
He does. Yeah. Or like the Red Hood from Batman.
Yeah, sure.
But when he makes it or when he uses his whatever you want to call it, to cause it to explode, it has collateral damage and it kills all the other mutants in there with him. And that's what the TVs are for. It's watching them all so Professor X can see all the carnage that's happening. And that's when he's like, good Lord, Scott, Emma, Sam. And Deadpool leans in and goes, the other one's name was Pixie, just in case you forgot. Never could understand why you felt the need to constantly expand your cast of characters. Sorry, student body. Speaking of which, let's see how the others are doing. And we go to another panel, and it's Colossus and Rogue and Gambit. And Colossus is trying to hold the doors open so they can get out, but it's no use. They just get electrocuted. Dead.
Gambit is definitely in the new movie.
You sure?
Yeah, because it's what's his face?
Channing Tatum?
Yep.
Oh, okay.
Tatum Channing.
And so he watches him electrocute there, and then Deadpool starts talking again to Professor X, and he's like, guess I won't be getting my security deposit back on this place now. He's like, do you know how hard it is to air out the stink of electrocuted mutant? And about that time, Professor X is like, Deadpool, please. And our little red boxes are back. And it says, he wants to talk now. It's never been easy for him to get inside your head. He's hoping he can connect with you. He might be able to read your mind. And the red box tells Deadpool, let him.
So we do find out at some point who the red box is, right?
No, not in this one.
No, I'm saying in this series.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Also, though, have you determined?
I was going to tell you to stop reading now if we don't know who's in the red boxes.
I'm pretty sure. I haven't read the final one, actually.
Oh, okay.
But I have Illustrated, and then it's the last one's. I think I know who it is. Anyway, but so I don't know if you've picked up what Deadpool has realized to this point.
Yeah, Deadpool has realized he's a comic book character.
Yes, he has. Yeah. And so we get to the point.
He's basically talking to the writers.
Exactly.
And the outside world, the real world.
So that is the catalyst for all of this, essentially, is Deadpool's like, we're all just comic book characters, man. Like, none of this matters. Like, you think we're all some... And so he's just going through, like, proving that to them. And that's what it gets here. And this is... He's sitting there and he goes, "What's on your mind, Chuck? Let's dish. See, I figured it all out. Everybody thought I was crazy. A stark raving maniac. All because my worldview was a little different." And Professor X is trying to, get into his mind and relate to him. And he's like, "That's not true." And Deadpool tells him, "Yes, it is. But it turns out I'm the only person in the whole world who see things clearly. I just didn't realize it. You know how they say your subconscious can work to solve your problems for you without you ever realizing it? Well, my subconscious has been trying to tell me something for years, and I just wasn't ready to listen. It wasn't until Psycho Man messed around in my noodle up here, and, I guess I should thank him or you for having me committed, like you did this." And he's like, "So, what if I break the fourth wall? It's the fourth wall. It's been breaking me, crushing each and every one of us for as long as we've been in existence."
So Deadpool is basically saying that he's the hero in all this.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Like, I'm saving you guys from all this. And that's when Professor X tells him, "Enough." And he goes, "I will not let you hurt anyone else. I'm sorry, Wade, but I'm shutting you down. You're mine. I'm shutting your mind down. I'm going to make sure you never. And then he's like, "Never? Oh, I never realized." And his nose starts to bleed and he's tearing up. And then he just dies. And Deadpool's like, "What's the matter, Chuck? Don't like what you saw in my head? Can't handle the truth? Oh, brain death. The truth will set you free, huh? Or vegetize you, at least." So in this instance, the fact of finding out that they're comic book characters is enough to kill Professor X.
Professor X, yeah.
Yeah, he found out that he was nothing in existence, essentially, and it was too much for him to take. Then he's just like, "All right, lame. Let's see. Let's hope that the rest, or what's left of the X-Men, can be more entertaining than this." And he's like, "Oh, let's see what's there. Oh, Magneto. He's stuck in kind of jellified acid. Like, can't do anything there." And then there's the pride and joy of the X-Men, a Kitty Pryde reference.
Yeah, Kitty Pryde, sure.
And he's like, "Such a problematic little she-ghost. Good luck finding your way out of that little roach motel cutie pie."
Her deal is she can go through walls and all that stuff, right? Teleport and that kind of stuff.
And he goes, "I don't really understand physics or tesseracts and such, but I know a ton about hamster wheels and funhouse mirror mazes. Little kitty cats never getting out. Peripheral containment works just as well as killing, I guess." So essentially, like, there's mirrors and glass in there. Like, she keeps just phasing through stuff just to stay in the cube. Like, she can never get out of it.
Yeah.
Then he's like,
you ever seen that movie? The Cube?
The Cube? No, I've heard about it.
Oh, it's good.
Then he's like, "Wait a minute. What's this? I thought I killed him already." As Wolverine makes an appearance. And he's like, "I guess if you want something done right, you've got to do it over and over again until it sticks."
And Deadpool's costume is just shredded.
It is shredded at this point.
Yeah.
And he's just like, please, I never wanted anything like this." And we see, are you familiar with Arcade?
Wait, who?
Arcade?
No.
Okay, Arcade was an X-Men villain who would build, like, in the 90s, he would build, like, fun houses that the X-Men had to escape. Like, he was always trying to kill them.
Bow tie.
Yeah, and so he essentially made all these murder machines for Deadpool. And that's where he tells him, he's like, "Wolverine, like, you have to save me. Like, I dedicated my world to, like, designing murder worlds, but this, like, I just can't fathom this. What he wants me to make is horrendous. I don't want to do it." And Wolverine's just like, "You've done nothing but try to kill me and my friends. Like, I'm not going to try to help you escape. Like, I'm not your hero. I'm not here for you. I'm here for..." And he has that sniff again of where he, like, thinks that he's found Deadpool. Yeah. And he bursts through the door, and it's X-23, and it's Doc. And X-23 is from Old Man Logan. That's Laura. I don't remember her last name, but it's a little girl.
Yeah.
And what's happening is they're hanging there just so badly burned, as you see these flamethrowers just kind of, like, not working right now, but smoke moving. And then we see Deadpool speech bubbles again. And he's like, "Hey, computers, like, monitor their vitals. And as soon as their health starts regenerating again, light those flamethrowers up. Like, we're not going to give them enough time for it to kick in. Like, we're just going to keep slowly killing them that way. That's how I would deal with somebody with a healing factor like myself, Besides, live bait always works best. And right? I mean, if we're talking hunter to hunter, and when he does that, Deadpool appears and he's taken
Oh wow.
Beast
Yeah,
and
he's
he's
wearing his
skinned him
skin.
and he's
Yeah.
wearing him as like his skin while he fights
Yeah.
Wolverine. And Wolverine tells him, "You're no hunter, you're me." And he's like, "Really? I feel like I look like a hunter, maybe like a mountain man or something, a samurai mountain man," just making fun of Wolverine.
Yeah, sure.
And Wolverine tells him that that sword doesn't make a samurai.
That's the way to piss off Wolverine. Start talking about Japanese stuff.
Exactly. And he tells him maybe not, but it's a carbonantium blade, and I know that wreaks havoc on your healing factor. So he stabs him like again with it, and he's like, "Oh," and he's like, "But I already killed you once, and I bet you'll come back again and again, no matter how many times I slaughter you. Your tendency to come back from the brink of death has nothing to do with your healing factor, though. Your mutant power isn't regeneration. No, it's popularity. But don't worry, I've got big plans, and all the popularity in the world can't save you this time." So he's breaking the fourth wall, wall even more.
He just
going through
cuts
this.
Wolverine's head
And
right
then
off.
just cuts Wolverine's head right
Yeah.
off. And we see now the 177 or 177A Bleecker Street, where Doctor Strange, the sanatorium
Okay.
is, where Doctor Strange lives.
Uh-huh.
Well, Taskmaster is there looking for something and comes across another horrific murder scene where Doctor Strange is dead on the table with a knife through his chest, and Wong is over there kind of like with his neck
Yeah, he
snapped.
got his head cut off or something.
Yeah, and he's like, "Deadpool, this doesn't look like it was just to be turned over. Like, Deadpool was looking for something, but what was he looking for? Like, what are you looking for, Wade?" And then he finds a book and he opens it up and he's like, this can't be good. And what it is it's a page that says the nexus of all realities on it. And it has the Deadpool logo drawn on it in blood.
Yeah.
So Deadpool is going to mess with time somehow to close out our final issue here of Deadpool Kills the Marvel Universe, which is The Punisher Punished.
Mm.
So as we start part 4, or the final issue here, it's these villains. Like there's anarchy going on in the streets. Villains are
The only one I know there is Doc Ock.
There's Doc Ock. I know there's Iron Fist is there. Which I thought he was already killed earlier because they said Danny, but I realized he's there. Anyway, but then all of a sudden, Daredevil just like falls from the sky with his batons just like shoved in his eye sockets. And he's like, "Ladies and gentlemen, in a shocking turn of events, it appears that..."
This is a reporter.
The reporter is, and we look up at the tall building, and all these heroes and villains are just standing across in a uniform line. Like, you see Kingpin there.
Yeah.
And you see Bullseye, like they're just standing there in a line, like just jumping off the top of the building now. And he's like, many
Who's
heroes.
the guy
and
with the
villains,
whacked
like,
up face there?
That's a Bullseye, I'm pretty sure, or Jigsaw. Sorry.
Okay.
And he's like, many heroes and villains alike are participating in like some sort of mass suicide pact. We'll find out what's going on there in a second.
Yeah.
But while everything's going on, we see a sniper rifle. There's Bullseye. There's Nick Fury. Oh, there's Deadpool in a window. And then we see the gun go off. And we see it's Frank Castle, or the Punisher, who is there to try to kill Deadpool. And so he thinks he's taken him out by sniper. And as he goes to check on him and he runs through, somebody goes in to try to attack Punisher. And he's like, "Sorry, pal. No time to stop and talk. I got to get to him before his healing factor kicks in." And when he gets there, he realizes, oh, not again. That's not Deadpool. That's Puppet Master.
Ooh, Puppet Master.
And he looks down, and that's what all those little puppets are down there. You see Doc Ock. You see Loki. Like, you see all of them.
Yeah, it's all of them.
So we'll find out what Deadpool's been doing.
The little Loki with the little horns.
I know. We'll see what Deadpool's been doing. But Deadpool pops up behind Frank, and he goes, "Dear Diary. Sorry. I mean War Journal." And that's a joke, too, because there was a Punisher series that was named Punisher War Journals that Garth Ennis did.
Oh, okay.
So there's another, like, little...
Garth Ennis, when do I know that name?
Preacher.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Gotcha.
The Boy... No, not The Boys. Yeah, he did The Boys, too, I think. Did he?
Oh.
I'm blanking.
You know,
on
I
that
meant
now.
to tell you this, and people out there listening will have no idea what I'm talking about. But I told you about that movie that's terrible that I watched last night.
Yeah.
By the way, it's called Inheritance. Do not watch it. Do not support that trash. But
Simon Pegg.
the brother was the Deep.
Oh, Chase
Yeah,
Crawford.
yeah.
Chase Crawford.
Just great people in this movie. The movie sucks.
Yeah. Well, that's good to know.
It's
there you
awful.
go. That's
Yeah,
a
don't watch
PSA for Mike.
Don't watch it.
So Deadpool goes,
Come at
today,
me,
after
Netflix.
years of being a hard ass killer of criminals, I got pwned by a Cabbage Patch doll. And he takes the paw or the puppet that Puppet Master made, and he moves the hand up with the gun in it to his head, to which Frank does, because the puppets, he's
Oh, wow.
controlling the people with the puppets. That's why that's why Daredevil had the batons like shoved through his eyes. That's the Suicide Pact. He's just playing with the puppets and like making them jump off. Like he tells him he
Yeah.
made Puppet Master make him a special batch of puppets.
They're like voodoo dolls.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And so he has him pointing the gun to Frank's head and he goes, "Thanks for nothing, righteous fury and vengeance." Bang. And about that time you see, Frank Castle collapses. He's now dead too. And he goes, I know. Killing all the Marvels of the world is supposed to be your gig," talking to Frank Castle.
Yeah.
Because there has been one where the Punisher killed the Marvel Universe
Really?
before Deadpool did. Yep.
Oh, wow.
And he goes, "But you've always thought small, and me, I've got big boy toys to play with, and some special edition action figures old Puppet Master whipped up for me. And then after those toys are broken, and you can see he's holding what looks to be Galactus, and we go, I've got even bigger fish to
Oh,
fry.
shit, there's my man.
And there's Silver Surfer, there's Thanos, there's some of the just more like space, known and more.
Yeah. Well, there's No, that's Nova's helmet.
Yeah, you're right.
Is that
There's
right?
Nova's
Yeah,
helmet.
thank you
They're
very
all
much.
just floating like dead
I'll
out
see
there
my
in
way out.
space.
Yeah.
So then after that, we get to the swamps. And Taskmaster.
You know it's a swamp because there's a gator.
You do know there's a swamp because there's a gator. And Taskmaster has been hunting down Wade, and he's like, "This place ain't the worst I've ever seen, but it'll make the perfect grave just the same." He's like, "I'm done chasing you. Like, we're ending this here. I'll bury you so deep in the muck that nobody will ever remember you. And then in time, they might even forget what all you've done."
At this point, Deadpool doesn't even have any pants.
He doesn't. It's just
Those
shredded
pants
away.
are gone.
And the red boxes come back and go, "We don't want to be forgotten. We want to have never existed in the first place."
I don't like this "we" part.
Yeah. And so Taskmaster says, "What did you say?" And he goes, "Me? I didn't say a word, did I?" So Taskmaster
Oh, he's hearing
has
the
gotten
boxes.
in the head of Deadpool, because that's what he does. He mimics him.
And he's hearing
And
the
so
boxes.
he can kind of he's like, "What?" And so then he's like, "I was wondering when you'd show up, actually. Kind of makes sense, this being my last stand and all. Me, the man looking in from the outside, the murderer on a mission. You, the pale shadow, the fleeting memories of all the people I've already ganked. It had to be you and me."
Ganked.
Yeah. And then the two of them, they start fighting. He's like, you're finally done it, Wade. Like, you've gone off the deep end. There's only one thing I have to offer you, and that's a mercy killing." And the two of them start going back and forth battling. And he's like, "That's it. Fine. Let's fight. We'll never settle anything with talking." It's funny. After all the psychics and magicians and mind controlling aliens, you and Taskmaster's getting some shots in. He's like, "Let me finish before you stab me." He's like, "I was saying, after all those yahoos trying to get a peek inside my noggin, it's you who has the best chance of understanding what I'm trying to do." And about that time, Deadpool is able to launch Taskmaster's sword away. And Taskmaster says, "I understand just fine. You've always been a nutcase. This day's been coming for you." And Deadpool kind of goes to kick, and Taskmaster is knocked back a bit. And he goes, "You're right. This is my day. All these years, everyone thought I was just a lovable goofball. A homicidal goofball, sure, but a goofball all the same. But I can see through all the bull and see the world how it really is. All the senseless deaths, the resurrections only to be killed again, the freak mutations, the cosmic rays, the chemical disasters, the unrequited loves, the secret wars, the secret invasions. The hero's journey is about pain. Enjoy." And then, that's what he's telling them. And then you hear, "Enjoy the trip," as Taskmaster's shield is thrown and knocks Wade off. And that's when he sits there and he fixes his jaw. And he's like, "Don't you Don't you get it? We're puppets. That's what Deadpool tells Taskmaster.
Right.
And he's like, after, and Geppetto's feeding us through us a wood chipper just for like, kicks and giggles. Like, well, I can save us all from this cycles of continuity. And he's like, don't you ever shut up is what Taskmaster asks him. And then the red boxes say, that's it. His muscle memory's kicking in. His reflexes mimicking ours. Let his eyes open to our gospel. And that's when Taskmaster says, shut up. And you realize Wade hasn't been talking. And it's the red box again going, he can hear me. And Taskmaster goes, of course I can hear you. You won't shut up. And then Deadpool goes, you always said that once you started imitating someone, you can anticipate their next move. So tell me, what's next? And about that time, even Taskmaster's eyes kind of get bigger. And he goes, oh no. And Deadpool goes, careful.
So
I know it can be frightening. Don't be scared.
Does Deadpool kill himself?
Well, no. You see what's growing up behind Taskmaster?
Oh, yeah. It's Swamp Thing, isn't it?
Man
Thing. Sorry.
And so Man Thing, you just see Deadpool quote, because whoever knows fear burns at Man Thing's touch. And Man Thing just sits there and just like catches Taskmaster on fire and kills Taskmaster there. We're wrapping up our final issue here as Man Thing's there, and Deadpool looks at him and goes, look at you, you poor bastard. Standing guard over all creation, protecting all those tortured, painful existences, watching your own wretched life play out over and over again in countless universes. How do you drag your sorry, weed-dripping carcass out of bed every morning to punch a clock for that gig? I bet you can sense why I'm here, though, can't you? I'm here to help set you free. All you really need to do is open the door for me. And then the red box says, one monster understands what the other is trying to accomplish. And Man Thing chooses to like turn himself and open this portal, which this giant green glow, as the red blocks tell us, Man Thing's flesh is the key and the gate. He sacrifices himself for our cause. Don't F this up. And Deadpool's like, whoa, this is it, huh? The road ends here. And the red block says, no, this is only the beginning. You have your work cut out for you. And Deadpool goes, oh, come on, man. I could just, I thought I could just, stab creation in the heart or something. And he's just like flowing through all these. That's him
Elvis.
in Elvis. It's like different things in history. That's him.
Yeah.
In battle, there's him. There's one it shows later, like, maybe some marshmallows as all existence burn around me. And he's just sitting there rolling through. It's like a Thor kind of, Deadpool there. And then the red blocks tells him, finding the center point of existence is no easy task. Even the progenitor of our universe may be nothing more than the playthings of our entities. You can hack away forever and never find the beginning or the end. And he's like, sort of like the tape stuck on a spool is what he tells him.
Yeah, what's up? Who? Okay, well, he's going to have to wait. I'll be done in a little bit. Yeah.
And he's like, sort of like the tape stuck on the spool. And he's like, all right, let's do that then. Let's start hacking. Sooner or later, somebody important is going to take note. And when they do, and we get to this room, and it says,
oh, geez.
We see a speech bubble, and it's like, all right, Colin, all right, how does it end? And he's like, okay, the last page, we'll get a close shot of the Deadpool as he approaches the door to one of the Marvel conference rooms. Like a Viking warrior claiming the reward of battle, he utters a catchphrase, oft attributed to his now dead rival. That's pathos. They'll eat that up. And he's like, really? Really nails the Deadpool of it all. And Colin is sitting there writing, and he's like, then Deadpool peers into the room to see us all hard at work. But Dalibor, make sure that you capture exactly just how handsome I am. And then everybody else in the room is like, yeah, me too. Yeah, me too. As you just see, the funny thing I love about that is Dalibor Talij he's drawing everybody, but it's his back. Yeah. And he kind of like makes himself a joke of having his pants down a bit, but he doesn't draw his face. He draws everybody else, but it's them like working on this Deadpool comic.
Yeah.
And then the speech bubble says, whatever this team is working on, it's a comic book masterpiece. and will bold masterpiece just so they really understand the gravitas of it all. And it has masterpiece bolded. Like, it's a lot of jokes here. It's great. And he goes, the Merc with the mouth then will raise his sword ready to strike when he notices someone otherworldly force watching him. And about that time, Deadpool turns to look at us, the reader, in the screen and goes, hey, I see you out there watching. Don't worry. I'll be done with these jokers in this universe before you know it. I'll find you soon enough. And that's where it ends.
So this is all just basically a Deadpool fever dream for the most part.
In a way, yeah, it is.
Wow, that's amazing. What's amazing to me is that they allow that to happen to all their characters.
It is, and granted, like it is like an Elseworld story where it's not main continuity.
Yeah,
but no, I did love that, and I do like the way at the end of where they're all like it's them writing the ending for it.
Yeah.
It's very Clue in a way. Yeah, and I like that.
Yeah, no, it's very cool.
So at some point in time, we'll go ahead and we'll dive into like Killustrated 2, which is where he goes back. I can tell you after this, he goes back through fiction.
Yeah.
Because it's not good enough for him just to kill all the superheroes. He has to kill all the literary works that inspired superheroes.
Yeah, sure.
So he's got to go back to like fight Captain Ahab and Moby Dick because there's kind of parallels between him and Magneto there.
Yeah.
And it's like things like that. So like that's the second stop in the trilogy before eventually we find out who he fights in the third one.
Wow.
And then
that's cool.
So there you go.
There you go. That was
There's
great.
Some Deadpool
yeah,
for
I love
us,
that. Yeah. Deadpool's fantastic. I didn't appreciate it when I was reading comics because he was a little after my time.
He was.
But having seen the movies and talk about the comics and all that stuff, I love the character because he's just such a antagonist. He's almost a anti-character.
Yeah, and he came like a long way there. There is funny. There's a line he has, and I should have known over it, where he's like, "I'm going to take out everybody, all the heroes, villains, anti-heroes, anti-villains."
Yeah.
I don't know if that's a thing, but I'm going to take them out too. But the character, funny enough, like his own, solo series. I think the first one was by it was like in '93. It was a 4-issue series, and then another short one in '94. And he started off more as just like he would have quips. He was more Spider-Man of like that Merc with a mouth.
Mm-hmm.
And it wasn't his fourth wall breaking and stuff like that. And once they dove into that, it really kind of blossomed the character. There is we will do one more Deadpool story before the movie comes out. And it's just a single issue. But I want to focus on it because I like the concept of it and I've never read it and I love the writer in general. You remember the Superman story we did, What's So Funny About Truth, Justice, and the American Way?
Mm-hmm.
Which was really good with Superman vs. the Elite. Well, Joe Kelly wrote that. And Joe Kelly also wrote a Deadpool story of where Deadpool and Blind Al get essentially trapped back in the Marvel universe or Spider-Man's world from the 1960 Spider-Man debut.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and it's a really good issue and it's them having to blend in. And so we'll do that before the movie comes out.
I was watching something the other day and the lady that plays Blind Al was in it.
I can never remember her name.
And she could see.
Good for her.
I know.
Good she wasn't typecast.
I did. That's what I kind of thought.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it's the only time I've seen her in anything, and so then when she showed up as an actual character in something, I was like,
her.
"Oh wait,
no, I get
she can actually see." It's Leslie Uggams, right?
Yes, it is Leslie Uggams. You're right.
Yeah.
Oh, I always forget her.
It's amazing.
She's great. Oh, she's fantastic.
Amazing. She's had another career like that.
Oh.
She reminds me of the lady that played Catwoman, Ursa Kitt.
Oh, Eartha Kitt.
Eartha Kitt. Yeah.
See, I was always a Julie Newmar fan.
Yeah, Julie Newmar's fine.
Dude,
Eartha Kitt started it though, right?
I had the weirdest crushes. This is completely off topic, but it's kind of related to that. As a kid, because we watched a lot of Nick at Night.
Yeah.
I had a crush on the Pink Power Ranger, which makes sense because Power Rangers are big at the time.
Sure.
And Amy Jo Johnson is a pretty lady, but my other crushes were Barbara Eden and Julie Newmar because we watched Nick at Night, and so it was Batman and I Dream of Jeannie.
Yeah.
Which I feel is kind of weird.
Yeah, that is weird.
It was the not showing belly button. It just
I
that's
get
what
that.
it was.
Yeah.
Nick at Night was great. I loved
Nick at Night was
shows.
great. Unfortunately, I lived through a lot of that before it got to Nick at Night.
Well, yeah, sorry about that. But,
that's okay. Not I Dream of Jeannie. I mean, I wasn't
Well, yeah, that was.
Yeah.
But Three's Company, maybe.
Oh yeah. Come and knock on our door.
We've been waiting for you. It's a thing and a thing and a thing.
You know that show is it's just misunderstandings. Every episode is a misunderstanding.
Well, that's what they were going to call it.
Really?
3 misunderstandings, but then they were people will think that all 3 of
You're
them were
full
just
of it. They weren't going to call it. Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you guys for taking the time out to listen to us cover Deadpool verse or the Marvel universe.
Kills the Marvel
Kills
universe.
the Marvel universe.
Yeah, this is our attempt at getting more listeners because of Deadpool.
Yeah, why not? We're pandering.
That's right. I'll pander.
I mean, if not, you should go back and check out some of the recent ones we did. We did a really good Peacemaker episode. We reran a Spider-Man shorts with the electric company stuff, which was hilarious.
Yeah, that stuff is crazy.
Great stuff there. So a lot of great
You talk
stuff.
about a misuse of a character.
Yeah,
Oof.
the wall or
The wall.
the tickler, or just any of them. The Mr. Measles was my favorite. So that does it for us. Thank you guys for listening. As always, we appreciate you taking the time out. As always, check out the other great podcasts on the Rogue Media Network family of stations.
RogueMediaNetwork.com.
And until next time, stay safe, everybody.
Hey, just real quick, thanks a lot for all the research you do.
Bro.
Yeah, it's great. Golly con.
Pros and heroes. Gonna tell you about pros and heroes. Gonna tell you about.
This has been a Rogue Media Network production.